Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Vince Edwards. You know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple closed Facebook groups, one called Death by Loadout, another one called The Backstage Pass. Come over and see us sometime. You might have some fun. I'm sitting here kicking it with my good friend, Kyle Thomas. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad, big dog. How about yourself?
Busy week. We're working. We've been doing some stuff. We had this thing we had to join yesterday to get the plight of the working man out there.
We sure did.
Yeah, I talked about it, man. I know you got involved with that, and it turned out real good. Talk to me.
So we hopped on the Restart Act bandwagon. I tried to show our support and aid any way we can through Sound Image's help with the lighting fixtures and everything else. So a crew of us, Alan and Ryan Anderson, we ended up going out to Palace of Fine Arts and illuminating everything in red.
Is that Alan Pettibone?
Yes, sir.
Our lighting guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's here.
He's in the house right now and putting light on us. Thank you, Alan. It'd be very dark without you. It turned out great. The photographs you guys captured were amazing. That's a really great building, too.
I was so happy to contribute, especially for something that we've been struggling with for quite some time with our industry. So to shine any light on it and to contribute just meant a lot. It was great to see, Local 16 and all the other vendors kind of helping and come together, just like a normal gig would be.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys were happy to be rated. I actually heard that it was the story that somebody was giving one of the locals a hard time, and they were pleased they hadn't been given a hard time for.
Yeah, right. I went through security one time, and the guy's like, "Oh no, you're fine." I'm like, "No, let me do this. I haven't done it in a while. Let me show you. Let me show you my pass."
It's official. It makes me sure I should be here. Can you please check it for me?
Right.
It
was hilarious.
No, that's good. It's what we do, man. We miss it. So I'm glad we got to go out there and kind of bring a little bit of a light to the subject that we were the first ones to go down. We've been kind of in the background. It's almost like you guys forgot about us. And we may be one of the last industries to go back to work. And we wanted to point out to the world that we were still on the planet and that we had a bunch of toys and we were really looking forward to using them as soon as possible.
Yeah, and getting to get more of a community to write the Congress, get a hold of the people we need to make sure that these state allocated funds are going to the right places.
Yeah, no kidding. That's been a little tricky as of late. I guess they're working on that from what I heard this morning on the news, but apparently they have more money in the bank than we do because they're shaking their time about it. But yeah, it was the right thing to do and it turned out really good. I hear we also put some lights in the Blue Note up in Napa.
Yeah, it looked incredible. I saw some of the pictures. Those boys did really good.
Yeah, it turned out really great. And it was a worthy cause, and we were happy to be a part of it.
It was nice driving around for a bit, too, seeing the other buildings that were lit up, like Civic Center. It looked incredible.
Yeah, I think that was the boys over at Felix. You went by. They did a good job.
Oh, yeah, I gave the boys a honk, so...
I'm sure they love that.
Now put the name to the honk. That was me.
Oh, okay.
You guys
Anthony,
got a little aggravated.
Anthony,
I just wanted to make some noise.
It was him doing that. It wasn't... I didn't approve it. He gets rambunctious. Nah, he just wanted to send him some love, I'm sure.
Oh, it looked so good. And it was just so nice driving around, having a little bit of time in between when, we're leaving the lights on for the helicopter shoot and everything.
Right.
To just see everybody come together and how many buildings actually there were in San Francisco that contributed to it was just incredible.
Oh, there's a huge active creative community in San Francisco. It's a union town. It's, we got a lot of different lighting vendors that could provide, so we were able to hit a lot of buildings. It couldn't have went better. The only thing I actually haven't seen, and I'm kind of interested to see, is what the helicopter shoot turned out to be.
Yeah, we'll see.
I bet you that would look pretty cool.
I mean, just from the pictures alone, I can imagine, what at least the Palace of Fine Arts, just with how stoic the building is in general and the layout, it must be incredible. So
yeah,
I can't wait
can only
to see
imagine.
it.
It's already a great building, and when it's lit up pretty, it can be fantastic.
Yeah.
And you guys really did well. I mean, I actually don't have that kind of lighting sensibility, so I didn't, knowing what it looks like in my mind's eye, I didn't know what you guys were going to do with it. And when I saw what you guys did, it was fantastic.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah. You guys really went above and beyond, and you should be proud of yourselves. Good stuff. As you know, we say it every week, but we try to bring interesting, experienced, cool people in here to talk about their history and things they've done in the business. When we dig into the roster, we have a lot of friends, and when we dig into the roster, it doesn't get much deeper than this. I talk about long history in the game, it's almost 40 years. It's been in from loading trucks to doing the biggest rock shows to running big companies. We got a gem of a guest this evening. He happens to be the general manager for Sound Image Productions. My boss. He's my boss. And he's also my brother. And I want to welcome him to the show. I'm so glad you're here today. It's my brother, George Edwards. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Again, we felt like we had some unfinished business with you. We didn't have enough time to talk last time, and so we wanted to get back in here. Now, a lot of the things that we would talk about, we talked about this before the show, that we'd like to talk about is probably we can't talk about because it would be naughty, and we would need a rating for the show, and there'd be like parental advisories and
kind of like maybe, on those record covers.
Maybe
it'd just be like a Vincent
lawsuits.
Advisory.
Could be lawsuits based on some of the behavior way back. I'm not sure.
We'd have cities boycotting us.
Yeah, I'm not sure all the statute of limitations has run out, so we're going to play it safe tonight.
And we usually don't have. It's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I think you're referring to family time and things that we're usually running and gunning that you've had more than ever.
Yeah, that's true. I've never had this kind of deadline time.
Now that your wife got to meet you, does she still like you?
A good question. You'd have to ask her.
She's a lovely woman, and I know for a fact, and personally, that she's madly in love with you. Let's talk about how you got into the business.
Well,
let's not get in the weeds now. We know it goes deep. It goes real deep, but it comes down to really one thing.
Mom
and music.
Yeah.
Two things.
Our household, for as long as I can remember, was music. That's all that ever happened at our house was music. And Mom wasn't into the pop stuff in the 60s. She was into Burt Bacharach, Johnny Mathis, Paul Williams.
Singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
Deep shit.
She would, Barbara Streisand,
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra. We didn't grow up listening to...
Crap.
No, we grew up and Mom would cook dinner singing into a wooden spoon, and
that shit actually happened. That's hard to imagine, but it actually happened. That's correct.
As mechanically inclined as Dad was, he didn't have an electronic bone in his body.
Couldn't dance. Let's put it that way.
We all had hi-fis in our rooms, and obviously gravitated towards bands when we were kids.
Yeah.
For us, it started off as in the punk rock era in Southern California.
Yeah, we were kind of, it's like somebody being born in the time span, so they could have been a teenager during, 68. That was for us, it was in 82, and the punk rock movement, 81, 82 coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a lucky spot because we were kind of part of a weird wave of new thing that was happening. Parents didn't understand.
No.
Authorities definitely didn't understand.
No.
Pretty much nobody understood except for the people that were doing it.
No, they didn't understand us at all. But I certainly know that we understood each other, and we
were a little pissed off, if you remember.
We were a little pissed off, but together we weren't pissed off. Together we were like a force, and we made things happen. And one of the things, we'd go from practicing in we called it the lanai at our house, or the patio, to playing at a boxing gym or playing at an armory or to whatever.
Legion Hall.
We would just get bigger and better, and we ended up with some really great bands in those days.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
And you and I were band guys, and Dad would drive around in his station wagon looking for us, and he could never find us.
Yeah,
you know?
we were hiding. That's because we were hiding. So we ended up moving out of Southern California, and we came up to Northern California, probably because we drove our parents crazy for a minute there. They didn't know what the hell to do with us.
So they sent us to my stepdad, who was kind of really our dad, sent us up to our real dad.
Yeah, genetic dad.
Yeah.
Kind of a punter.
Yeah.
But, and he came up, and it was, the first thing we wanted to do was get the frig out of the house and away.
Right.
And that was by the most obvious easy out on that was working with the local bands in the area.
Correct.
Because a lot of them really didn't understand what they were doing. And they struggled with the sound side of things.
Well, not just that, culturally too, because Southern California had a real thing going on, not just with punk rock, but with rock and roll, and it's different, variations of music. And Northern California was kind of into this new wave thing and surfer thing.
They were still pogoing up here.
Yeah, it was a whole different thing.
Like it had to creep up here.
Yeah,
we were part of the creep.
Yeah, it was wasn't they weren't as hip as it were. So consequently, there weren't guys in our community in Monterey that were even into electronics. There was only one guy and in sound systems so it was pretty easy to get a band gig, you know. And matter of fact, we ended up getting most of them, you know, which is problematic to people in Santa Cruz, but we got the gigs, you know.
Yeah, no, we were lucky. Early on, we did some stuff with the punk rock bands, the local punk rock bands that were tooling around, and at the time, CIA with our good friend Ray Berlino.
Right, that was one of my first.
But then we kind of moved through that, and we started to get our first real ability to touch real gear with our good friend Tony Nacita at IAMP.
Yeah.
And
Independent Audio, Monterey Peninsula.
The Independent Audio of the Monterey Peninsula. He was our audio daddy. It was the first time we got to play with some Harbingers and some real
Soundcrafts.
Yeah.
And real equipment, JBL monitors and real amplifiers and real mics. Well, Tony, as you know, wasn't just our audio daddy. It was, he had a heavy influence on our lives. Dad was busy, working a fireman's schedule, 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 24 off, 3 or 4 days off, then back at it again. And well, we were kind of left to our devices, and which was probably not a good idea. And
not with our history.
No. And Tony was a very linear guy, and his mantra, well, it was kind of Dad's mantra, actually, was you sign your name to everything you do. You better make it legible. And Tony actually lived that.
Oh, yeah.
And so Tony taught us an ethic, a work ethic, a way of laying out cable, a way of marking everything, a way of drawing out stage plots, a way of communicating to the artist, or communicating to our customers, because if we weren't doing actual shows or festivals with him, we were doing installs with him.
Yeah.
And he actually turned out to be more like a dad, I think.
In many ways, yeah.
I'm not sure he would feel the same way about that, but he wasn't on the receiving end,
Sure, that's right.
And to this day, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. Great man,
Yeah.
Great man. And still doing it.
Yeah, I know. He's the stamina on that guy. I mean, he was always one that I always felt like we didn't want to let him down. He always gave us a lot of latitude, a lot of trust. And before too long, he'd throw you the keys and you'd take the 26, and
I know.
We'd just go do the shows flat out.
I'd collect the money. I'd deal with the client.
And that showed a lot of trust.
Before I was 21 years old.
Yeah, no, we were often in places legally we were not allowed to be in.
No, I remember one place in particular that we were there every Thursday night, and on my 21st birthday, I asked the owner if he'd buy me a drink, and he said, "Why? It's my birthday." And he said, "Which birthday?" I said, "My 21st." He says, "You've been working here for 3 years, and it's your fucking 21st birthday."
That's Brooke Lewis you're talking about.
Yeah. And
the Club of Monterey.
Yeah.
It was a great room. Yeah, we used to have a lot of fun there.
Yeah,
We did a lot
he
of
kind
shows
of
there.
giggled and said, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah, but we always behaved when we were, well, as much as people could see. We kept it close. We didn't fight shit on his room because we appreciated what we were getting
truck,
away with.
a lot of things can happen in the truck,
That's right.
before the band goes
That's
on.
26 feet of fun right there once you get the gear out. I'll tell you what. I'm just going to say that right there. 26 feet of
The
fun.
man cave immediately set up.
It's definitely a cave of some sort.
Yeah.
I want to skip over a little bit. There was stops in between before we got kind of a big break, but I think it really started with you when you got employed at Sound on Stage, kind of an institution around the Bay Area that...
Well, actually, no, it didn't happen that way. I ended up getting to Sound on Stage the long way. I actually, through a band called the Medflies, were playing an earthquake benefit. And this band that was I was working as the band engineer plus the systems tech for Tony. And a band there who I had established a relationship with their engineer, who turned out to be their studio engineer, and it was one of their first.
Well, they send out their big gun, and their big gun was Benny Collins.
That's correct.
And Benny Collins is, it's hard to explain Benny Collins in the formative nature to us becoming truly professional roadies without speaking to Benny Collins. And that's why I really went this road, is I'd like you to speak about Benny Collins.
Well, at the time, Benny was working, his primary job was with Nightmare Productions, which was the management company for Journey, and he was the drum tech for Ainsley Dunbar. And he had just really broken into doing production management.
Yeah.
And Benny had this way of talking to people, and if he talked to you in a certain way, which some people would interpret as being curt, it actually meant he saw something in you, and you better listen.
Well, he had a way that could be, if you had a thin skin, it wasn't going to work out good for you.
No.
He would sort you out real quick. He was a big man. He was African American. He had a southern voice. He sounded like Wolfman J.
Yep.
Talked like this a little
Yeah,
bit.
and he smoked one cigarette after another, just like you and me.
But man, he just wanted the best for you.
Yes.
And you to man up quick, because that's Journey on stage. That's David Bowie on stage.
That's correct.
And rapidly he moved up the ladder into the production management thing.
Right.
And kind of blew the fuck up. Like,
well, he
about
did,
that.
and he took
you with, yeah.
He did. So that band that at that festival had basically offered me a gig going out, and they said I didn't have passport or anything. They said they were going to send me some money to go get a passport application and
get it all sorted
and and an airplane ticket, and I really didn't buy into it. I mean, I'd been told so many fucking lies by so many bands at that point.
Rock and roll was different back then, by the way.
I'd pulled fucking bar owners through bathroom windows with my goddamn money.
I was with you.
But it showed up. That fucking envelope showed up, and I went and got a quick passport, and next thing I know, I'm on fucking David Bowie Glass Spider.
Huge tour.
And
massive.
Well, then the band that I had hired me, they were a one-hit wonder, a great hit, but it was a one-hit wonder. Ended up being pulled by management and replaced with Susie and the Banshees. And Benny said, "No, you're staying, and you're mixing Susie and the Banshees." And mind you, this is a 17-month tour, and I'd never done anything like that. And then next thing you know, there's problems with Bowie's front of house guy. Was basically equipment related, and the way he responded to this equipment functioning or not functioning.
It's a thing that happens.
And
People have to be replaced sometimes.
and I used to have an imaginary line in front of house that I couldn't pass. But every night during the show, I watched everything he did.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I'm mixing Bowie. And I'm at Shea Stadium, and I'm at, places that I never ever...
Yeah, it was a huge tour.
It changed my life. Benny changed my life.
Yeah, yeah. By then, he was production manager.
Yeah, it was Benny's thing, and
Yep.
and the things that I've been involved with Benny all the way up until his passing. I didn't do his real big stuff like Michael Jackson or Madonna or Rolling Stones, but a lot of the things in between, let's call them the medium to high level.
Yeah.
I was blessed enough to work with Benny on, and he was my dear friend. I remember 2 months before his passing, I was doing the Foo Fighters at Candlestick Park, and not Candlestick, pardon me, AT&T Park, and Benny showed up, and we had lunch, and
Yeah. He wasn't doing well by then.
he wasn't doing well then.
Yeah, sadly.
And he died there shortly afterwards, and we had at the Fox in Oakland, we call them the last loadouts.
That was an amazing last loadout. We've done a lot of those, and that one was particularly well attended. It was
Anybody who was anybody.
It was
It
heartbreaking.
didn't matter if you were a manager, if you were a production manager, if you were a lighting guy, a video guy, a company owner. You were there.
The big
manufacturers were even there.
Yeah. No, it was probably one of the best attended last loadouts I've ever been to, and like I said, heartbreaking. It was a lot of people were broken up with the loss of Benny.
That was one of the tougher days of my life. That was the only thing I could probably assimilate it to is when John Rigney died. How that affected me.
John Rigney's recent passing, that sucked.
That one fucked me up real bad.
Yeah, it's still got this lingering quality that's not very pleasant.
Yeah, it fucked me up pretty bad.
Yeah, I understand. I'm with you. Let's move to a happier space then.
Yeah.
And we'll always, have those guys in our hearts and speak about them in our moments, in our cigarette sessions or something like this to keep their memory alive, because they were great at what they did, and they were good friends to us and mentors. Working with Motley Crue, remember now? So again, we will remind the audience that we have to be very careful and what we can relay about that, except for that it was an extraordinarily fun time, a lot of hard work. Talk to us about your memories with the Crue, Daddy.
What happens on the bus stays on the bus.
You got to that's a big rule when it comes to the Crue.
Let's just say that their first album was really what attracted me to Motley Crue.
Easily their best album.
And also their self-titled album with John Corabi.
I know you love that album.
Motley Crue. Are really what attracts me to Motley Crue. But their other albums, in my opinion, don't do them justice. They're polished producer, radio friendly. Motley Crue is a live band.
It's
Motley
just that
Crue
simple.
brings it like nobody brings it. It's a circus. Yeah. It's knock you in your chest, meat and potatoes, Mick Mars, and Tommy just taking you to your knees.
Yeah, that's right. It's a singular experience.
I've worked with a lot of bands, either as a company guy or a band guy, and there's not too many bands that are going to bring it like that band brings it.
I don't think they ever. I would say, with the exception of the occasional vocal hang-up, which is very normal after 30 shows. Yeah. But other than that, that band is solid, rock solid. I mean, they just kill every time, and there's always a good time. Tom's super fun to hang out with. You know,
He's a child.
he's a child. Nick is
In the most respectful way.
Oh no, yeah. If anybody,
in the most respectful way,
Yeah,
because if you're on Tommy's good side and you're wanting to go to Tommy's carnival, he's going to take you for a ride, and it's going to be a ride. It's going to be fun.
it's a buckle up situation.
Yep.
And you better be prepared. And then they got the whole polar opposite, and Mick.
He's the dad,
Yeah, that's Papa.
the intolerant dad.
Well, yeah, I love it when he gets mad at his bass player by referring to him as bass player. Bass player. Do this. Do that. I know I'm saying too much. But yes, there's a chemistry between them that I think isn't as well known as what we've seen, and they're a unit. You know, they're
They're a super tight band. They work through their challenges,
Sure.
and but again, challenges aside, when they're, like I said, visualizing, seeing Motley Crue, being involved in Motley Crue, is being involved with the band that brings it.
yeah. It's Alcatraz Island.
Yeah.
That always presents, the many times that we've been out there, some very special mini hats, logistical challenges that I don't think people could understand. Talk about it.
Well, as far as I know, I've been involved in the only two King of the Rocks out there. It's a Red Bull basketball event. And I think Kyle talked about, maybe were you a hand or something on one of them?
Yeah, it was a hand several years ago.
Yeah, I provided
I know the
sound-
nightmares
I
of-
provided the sound, lighting, and video on those. And there's a real challenge to working on the island. Actually, I did one for T-Mobile with Creed, and it was Greg was mixing Creed, Greg Price.
Yeah.
And I have a picture from that show of Mary Condi and I standing at front of house next to Greg,
Frozen.
like we lived in fucking Antarctica.
Yeah, no, that place is brutal weather-wise. People, we cannot explain to you this enough. It is fun and cool to work at the Rock. You know, you're working at the Rock. You're doing a show at the Rock.
Until the marine layer rolls in.
Yeah.
It's the
Oh
most
my
logistically-
God.
People say Red Rocks is tough to load in.
It is tough to load in, but it is not the Rock.
Oh, do you
No.
remember the staircase?
Oh,
the
my
stairwell
God.
you had to go down?
Oh, that thing, the
No,
carrying
we're talking
cases.
37 stairs at a 45-degree angle. And you have to load in on the Rock as soon as the last boat leaves when they're closing.
Yeah.
We take and drive a 26-foot truck onto a metal plate, then lift it up with a crane, put it on a barge, drive the barge to where the ferry landing is. That barge then takes screw jacks into the base,
Yeah.
of Anchor's Inn. Then another crane lifts it off. We empty the truck there and then use pickup trucks and stake sides to take it up then to wherever we're doing the show, right? And you've got to hand carry everything. We're talking stage, we're taking lights, everything's got to be. And if you crack a sidewalk, if you do anything to this dilapidating island,
Yeah.
they lose their mind.
Oh, they're sensitive about it.
And before you can even go out there, you have to work with Fish and Wildlife on proving that you won't fuck with the migration and breeding patterns of the indigenous birds.
The birds have a right too. Okay, I just want to say that I'm going to stick up for birds here right now. I'm going to take the unpopular position that birds have rights too. Okay, what we're saying
They
is
have a movement.
it's a great place to film a show and see it. Like if you're the viewer, if you're teching that show, bring a couple jackets and oh man, your Wheaties, eat a whole box of them because it kicks your ass. It is a rough show site.
Yeah, the way we broadcast it is we put a guy up on Vista Point
Yep.
up at the Marin side of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And then we put a transmitter at the water tower. And then in the old infirmary, poke the antenna through the window, and another transmitter, and we beam it across the bay to a satellite truck sitting at Vista Point.
Nothing simple about this venue.
There's not even water on the island.
No, it is like, yeah, they really hated people to put them out there in any capacity. It's
I don't know how fucking Morris or whatever his name was.
Earl Morris, yeah, who escaped. He did escape, by the way.
I'm sure he did, but I tell you what,
fucking escaped.
That guy must have fucking painted lacquer all over his body or something, because how cold it is out there, even in summer.
Yeah. No, Mark Twain. The
coldest winter I ever spent
was a summer in San Francisco. Yeah, no, that's not a lie. But sometimes at a certain level of badassery, the two brothers that he went out with had been put on the Rock because they had escaped 5 prior jails.
Correct.
So these were people that were determined, and the last thing we're gonna do is a little bit of cold slow them down. No, they got the fuck off. They ran away and they
Angel
stayed
Island.
away. Yeah, well, that's what the logic says. But the idea was, they sold the Rock as saying you can't get away because the sharks will get you or you'll die on the swim. 2,000 people every year swim
Polar Bear Club.
They swim from the island to the mainland in a competition. So
with Speedos and a cap.
Yeah, it's eminently doable.
Right.
And if you really hate your situation, I bet you could do it a little faster. So yeah, it's absolutely doable. Let's jump over. Like I said, I'm going non-linear on you to moving from Sound on Stage over to running Delicate Productions. They came up and made a stand up here from LA to the Bay Area, and they threw you in the head honcho seat.
Yeah.
And you guys got a lot of good things done, did some big shows. We had fun over there.
Yep.
We do a bunch of stuff. And that tailed off into a couple guys that you had done business with prior to creating and this I'm simplifying, you can expand on it, but to creating what we now know as the Bottle Rock Festival.
That is a fact.
Talk about it.
Well, these two gentlemen had been involved in the restoration of the Uptown Theater, which they had ran for years as a fourplex, and with the actual owner of the building, they wanted to restore the place, in which all of a sudden they had this grand idea of putting on a festival in the streets of Napa, and they called me in because I was involved in the sound, light, and video installation through Louis Adamo of High Tech Audio. He sold them the consoles,
right?
And so I knew it was a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. So a guy I've worked with for a lot of years by the name of Steve McFadden.
Sure.
I brought him to the meeting with me, and we sat in this courtyard, this cafe courtyard at the Uptown, and we walked their proposed stage locations on the streets of Napa, and we told him Steve told him that he didn't believe that it was possible.
Logistic reasons, many reasons.
Yeah, and I agreed with him, but I didn't say that to him. And what I said to them after Steve left the meeting is, why would you go through all of these logistics with street closures and there's no place to park and so on and so forth?
And, oh my God.
When literally 0.3 of a mile from downtown, you have the 45-acre Napa Valley Expo Center.
That's right.
So they knew Carol over there in the office and Joe, the CEO, and they called over there and said, "Hey, can we come take a look at the place?" And we walked the whole place, and I said, "Well, we can put a main stage here. We can put a second stage here. There's an existing stage here. For the third stage, we can put a 4th stage here. We can go in this building and do this stage here." And next thing you know, we were in the planning stages of it. And so I jumped on the horn with Jason Alt, who at the time was the general manager of the Camarillo Delicate Productions. Mm-hmm. And between the two of us, we orchestrated all of the sound, lights, and video while I advanced all of the audio for all of the 72 acts.
5 stages, 72 acts, 3 days, very big show.
And then I worked intricately with an operations team that I brought in from all of the Bill Graham folks.
That's right.
That I had grown up with in the San Francisco industry, and we built a team out of all of these guys, Chung Kuo, and a bunch of people, and we knocked out a festival. And ultimately, that festival, from an artist perspective, left $5.9 million in debt, including to the company Delicate that I was, managing. And I got called in by the Federal Justice Department to be the creditor's chair on recouping the funds.
Yeah.
And during that process, a group of venture capitalists who created a company called Latitude 38, who are currently part owners of the festival to this day, and in conjunction with Live Nation. Live Nation wasn't involved at that point. Went through the whole court process with us, was over 400 hours.
A lot of hours.
And actually contributed to the the 152 vendors who didn't get paid because there was only so much money got recouped in the bankruptcy.
Right.
So they stepped up to the plate and not only bought the brand, but brought back those that were willing to play ball and go for gamble number 2, gamble number 3, gamble number 4.
And now it's a pretty, it's a going concern that's well attended.
As far as I know, it might be considered one of the the top festivals in the country.
Yeah, it's
that's my understanding
festival.
at least.
Massive festival, national acts, international acts.
Yeah.
And since the change of management, as it were, it's been considerably less fraught with peril. And a good event to go attend. Yeah, well, it was always found it interesting that you branched out into that direction because it wasn't necessarily what we do, which was building from the ground up. Which way people come in, where's the bathrooms, where.
No, it wasn't in my wheelhouse. But I think when that first year when the challenges started happening on the Friday night. The first night, and then on Saturday they were blatantly obvious. One of the gentlemen who was the financial part of it was locked in a hotel room, and he called me there and he basically asked me for money, and I told him that wasn't going to happen because he already at that point was into me for close to $1 million. I said, what I will do is I'll go try and find where your money is.
Yeah.
And I was able to scratch together a bunch of money from the salespeople, the sponsors, food and beverage, so on and so forth, to make the next couple of days happen. But then all kinds of other things became a challenge. It wasn't money at that point. It was the actual logistics because they had checked out.
Yeah.
And so I guess guilt by association and the strength of the team all been working together for so many years, we learned all of these ways to improve it.
Yeah.
Which then were accepted and then implemented with Latitude 38, and it continued to grow as they experienced the same growing pains, and they took it to another level every year and made it that much more attractive for people to want to come back.
Well, that moves us forward to you started a project with the city of Napa that's called Oxbow. It's a new thing. We were just getting our heels in on that.
Yeah, it was actually brought a Ken Tester of the Blue Note out of New York. who has the Blue Note Napa.
Yeah.
Actually, he's the one who did all the rallying and getting the city of Napa on board, as well as the people at the Oxbow itself on board, and its neighbors, the wine train and a couple of retail establishments to the left and right of the Oxbow Commons,
Right.
which is the amphitheater that we've created.
Yeah, the stage is sitting right out back.
The stage is sitting out back. We had a slow season the first year getting working out the kinks.
Sure.
But overall,
Some good shows.
it was some great shows.
Yeah.
And the city was happy, I think, and all the shows we did, we had, I may be underquoting, but I think it was 4 noise complaints.
We were mitigating out there.
We were doing sound mitigation out there as well.
Yeah.
And I think this is the correct number, but the city has permitted for a contract of 66 more shows for 21, 22, and 23.
We'd be out there right now, right?
We'd be out there right now.
Yeah.
The show was slated to start off in on I think it was June 22nd with I think it was Bob Dylan.
Yeah, this year's run was going to start with Bob.
Yeah.
And it had a pretty healthy lineup. I think the B-52s and some others.
And I remember Labor Day was going to be 3 days of widespread panic. And,
yeah, that would have been great.
the lineup was looking really good. Another Planet had done an amazing job of really making sure that it understood the demographic to be the Napa locals, because really that's what that venue is geared towards, where Bottle Rock is a Napa experience.
That's right.
So meaning it's a great tax revenue for the city of Napa, because all the tourists come, 45,000 tourists a day come, right?
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. So that's a Napa experience.
You bet.
Where the Oxbow is for the locals.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It still draws huge crowds.
It does really well.
Yeah.
It does really well, yeah.
Most memorable moment on tour, buddy? Dig deep. I didn't say this was going to be easy. I didn't say that. I said, come on the show. I'm going to hit you with some questions.
Yeah, no, that's X-rated.
Yeah, so you got to dig through the file. It's going to take a minute. Trust me on that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Blindsided.
It's the fun of the show.
Come on, PG-13 version.
All right. Well, maybe the catacombs of Paris, you know?
Yeah, that's a heavy. God damn, they put 5 million people underground. What the hell?
That, first of all,
You
I
gotta see
thought
this,
Paris,
dude, it's
when I went
crazy.
to Paris the first time, I thought I was going to the city of just, you know,
Lights and
and it
pastries.
turned out to be the city of urine. And,
Gentle.
and,
Gentle.
but it was fascinating to, you have a couple of days off there and go see the history. It was a little different than Sarajevo, because the first time I went to Sarajevo, I realized that I was in a city that was older than our oldest buildings,
Oh, yeah, like way.
like 3 times.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
it was kind of a trip.
A new house in Europe is like 100 years old.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's the new house.
Yeah, it was a trip. It was a trip.
Yeah. Now, traveling has always been a fun part of
Yeah.
this job, and I know you know, particularly fond of that. Let's talk about the company. You know, we're here at Sound Image Productions. You're the boss. What would you say our mission statement? What makes us different? And I believe we are different.
Well, I think I think the Bay Area has, got used to regional service. And I think the difference with Sound Image is it's really national service. And the difference here with our staff is they've been taught to a higher level of what's expectation.
Yeah.
And so therefore there's a level of pride in how the gear is checked back in and tested and
Maintained in all ways, aesthetically,
put back on the
physically.
shelf,
Yeah.
or into paint, into wheel repair, into software update, into cleaning, whatever's necessary, then on the shelf. Then when it's ready to go back out, it's prepped and actually operated.
It can't leave if I can't hear it first.
And then the way that we've become this semi-quasi family, that everybody takes pride in making sure that the way the customer is being treated is complete service oriented.
We're a service company, man.
And I think at some other companies, some of the staff still think, well, no, I'm the sound man.
The right sound. So we do encourage a healthy amount of competency. I think with the continued training, and we give them the right gear, and we have the help of our brothers in our other shops, so we have a reach that a lot of companies can't touch, so we can deal with writer-specific issues. And yeah, we're really fortunate to have the support we get from Southern California Sound Image and Sound Image in Tennessee and our other. Your phone's blowing up, buddy.
I thought I silenced it.
Yeah.
So,
consider yourself in an airport.
So
we're really lucky.
The benefit of being part of the legacy, that Sound Image, and what I mean by that is Sound Image has so many relationships with so many manufacturers because the house is not specific to one brand.
Nope.
So therefore, I've been able to interact with a lot of those manufacturers and have them, and seeing as the company has so many divisions and has so many employees, that we're able to say with that manufacturer, look, this seems to be a place that you could be helpful with us and bring in one of your guys and work with our guys.
Yes.
Specifically.
How many times?
Well, I'd like to think, it's ongoing. It's constantly happening.
That's right.
And especially here during Corona time, we've got companies really stepping up.
That's right.
And we've got ongoing training, and since we have the gear, we're able to have guys in safe conditions, guys and girls, pardon me.
Sure.
Come to not only work off a tablet, their computer tablet, but actually work with the gear itself, and at one of the 4 shops.
Well, we know that training is much more satisfying and complete when they can actually take the webinar and turn it into touching physical gear.
Yeah.
It sticks better.
All of our webinars are done live, and which is different than what the Joe Q Public sound guy or lighting guy or video guy can do. They're watching something on a streamed reel. Yeah. Where they're, in our situation, they're dealing with a live human being, and it's usually somebody within the industry that is extremely qualified at what they're doing.
Yes, I couldn't agree. That's well summed up.
Yeah, it's really helpful to be taking the classes that are offered through Sound Image and you guys, and be able to talk to somebody in person. Because it's like, yeah, you can read the manual all day, but you always hit those roadblocks where it's like, fuck, this guy knows it.
Yeah, it's good when you guys can cross-talk and get back and forth and somebody stumbles somewhere and everybody learns in that moment, because we'll do this with 20 or 30 guys at a time with, Robert Scoville or somebody teaching a class, and that's priceless.
100%.
It's problem solving by group. It's getting some of the best information from one of the best guys in the industry, and we have relationships like that across the board, across disciplines, and so it's really a fortunate place to be.
Well, what becomes very evident in those live Zoom classes is not everybody learns the same.
Yeah, that's right.
And not everybody learns at the same pace. So if you've got this little network, while you're in between classes, y'all can talk to each other. You can fill in the gaps, or you can say through the chat within Zoom, hey, maybe we need to back it up a little bit next week and need to come back to a subject and make sure everybody's caught it. Somebody's got it. Everybody's got it. And it seems that dynamic is continuing to grow within the company, and the guys and girls are between classes talking to each other and answering each other, solving some of each other's problems or challenges.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to learn, and I feel like we're doing our part. So I know a lot of the kids are real happy. And we'll keep doing it. We got somebody on the other side of the wall right now playing with the Dante and doing some RF work.
Yeah, so, she's been there all since early this afternoon.
Yeah. Workhorse Shauna Hall again in the house.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the new vision. We're kind of doing a new thing, forced. Maybe we should have been on top of it already, but we've done a lot of proof of concept, a lot of testing with this new Sound Image Presents. Mm-hmm. It's a new lane where we're sitting in part of it right now. It's a facility you had built. You brought together the different disciplines, lighting and audio and broadcast, to create this new thing. Talk about it. It's called Sound Image Presents. And I think we got something coming out of it here in a minute, too.
Yeah, we do very shortly. As we all know, we don't have a crystal ball. And things are constantly changing within the way the government wants to handle things.
Yeah.
So with things like, restart and so on and so forth, it's kind of taken us out of hiding, because we did that to ourselves. I believe the dynamic of the way people are going to attend or view live entertainment or webinars, product releases, so on and so forth, is going to change. I think that streaming ultimately would have been part of our future, but I didn't think it was going to be now.
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of like when LED walls replaced screens.
Projectors. Yeah.
And it wasn't just eye candy. It was, eye candy upstage, and then then all of a sudden left and rights with iMag. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now streaming, I think, because of the just human nature, if people have the option when concerts come back or when people go back to work or whatever, and have a chance to go on to a convention to watch some medical seminar or something, are going to take a different choice and rather sit home in their 70-inch TV with their 5.0 and have dinner and watch because they're going to feel safer or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of forced us to kind of look at not only the skill sets that the individual techs have, but the way they actually use the tools they've been using, the consoles, the cameras, the lighting, the microphones, and the computers and the switchers differently than they had when this all started. And I believe that the only way we can do that and also find a revenue stream is to take the training that we're doing and have it apply towards that, head in that direction, and then have the hands-on things that are happening here be that way as well.
Sure.
And also see if it can turn into a revenue stream.
So we've built this space. We've brought in all this gear.
Correct.
We've created a safe space. We've done our research on COVID rules and regs.
Correct.
Have our different health stations around. So you're basically creating a safe space for a person to do a TV show, or a band to come in and play, which we've had, or some training to happen.
All the above.
Yeah, talking head thing, whatever that you can imagine that you'd like to put as form of content onto the interwebs, we've got a place for you for that.
Any form of communication to a broad audience can be done here.
Yes, sir.
In a, like you said, a safe environment, a disinfected, COVID testing, COVID
run down the list.
Catering,
it's crazy.
Sanitizing equipment as it comes in and out of the building. You name it, we've thought about how to not have somebody feel like there hasn't been a base covered.
Yeah. We've got the green rooms. We've got
we have complete isolation.
We got a rather large space here, and we can make it be what it needs to be. And after many weeks of effort and toil and research and so on, And plus, the show, was an early shot out of the cannon to try to prove concept that we could successfully broadcast audio, lighting, and that's evolved a great deal.
Well, frankly, to give credit, instead of doing this with those points, why don't you think about white balancing? Why don't you think about doing a platform that's based on white to appeal to mirror to the lens, not to the naked eye, and then light for effect.
It's been quite a transition.
It's been all clicking in my mind, even though I don't know these disciplines.
Yeah.
But I've been guilt by association in all these environments that I know that a rock and roll lighting rig, although it has some of the same fixtures, would not work in a broadcast environment, and therefore also a rock and roll lighting designer is not going to work well with a broadcast video engineer.
Right.
There's going to be inherent tension unless both each other learn each other, learn how to talk to each other, and then work together.
Yeah.
And it's no different than with a rock and roll audio guy trying to go from, let's crush the first 50 rows with subwoofer with the kick drum to actually mix into a pair of Genelecs and a sub.
That's right.
And knowing where to apply, the output compression correctly, knowing when, how to convert the signal to go up, and into Kodak and blah, blah, blah. All those various things are something that guys that work for our company and companies like ours don't do every day.
That's right. There's been a learning curve.
Well, we're all at school, me included.
Yeah, that's right.
Me included, understanding how to work with the streaming partners, understanding how to work with the county, understanding how to work with the lawyers, understanding how to work with potential clients, understanding that we're in
Vendors.
a whole different realm of proposals even.
Yeah, I know.
It's maddening. I work 7, 8, 9, 10 proposals in a day, and the responses are so varied. I have to think a whole different way of how I'm even going to communicate and negotiate.
Yeah, no, I don't envy your challenge on that one. That's why I stay on the concrete side. I'm going to keep letting you have You're going to keep taking the carpeted side of the business. I'll just stay over here on the concrete and clean the gear and make sure it's all good. So when you do that, when you get those people and figured out all that nailed down, we'll be ready, buddy. But you always knew that. That's why you got me in the position I'm in.
I would hope it would stay that way.
Yeah. We're going to be ready.
I hurt too long after I get pissed off and load a truck for somebody.
Yeah, I know. You too. I haven't had to let you do that for 3 years.
You're right.
Yeah. I threw you the fuck out the building on that. It's like, all right, no, go. You like fucking stormed out of the building. Yeah, it was awesome. You made like 20-somethings look like morons. Just, oh my God, it was shameful.
I had to kick them all out of the truck.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. When he goes sideways like that, it's a sight. I let it go on for a minute because of the spectacle of it all. It was so they could see, so they could be shamed while the old man was like killing him.
They'd been out there for like 2 hours trying to load a truck, and I did it by myself in 45.
Yeah, just shit in the bed,
30 buys just don't make sense to some people.
Yeah.
He's like, are you fucking kidding me?
We're going to wrap here, but, I want to talk to you about the nature of your... Not everybody shares your view on this, but we're big on this. The B2B nature of how we interact with other businesses, businesses in our industry.
Yes.
You've always had a very healthy, in my opinion, view on cooperative B2B interactions with other vendors.
I think it's imperative.
Yeah, I talked about that because not everybody agrees with you, and you know this now. There's some heads out there we can't reach out to because they don't want to share their secret sauce or something. But we're big on this. We'll bail anybody out.
I'll tell you a quick story. So when Dave, Ralph, and I sat down and decided we were going to do what we were going to do, I got a call from a guy from the East Coast, let's just say.
Yeah, East Coast guy. We'll call him East Coast guy.
And he said to me, "What the fuck did you do?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?"
Very East Coast.
And he said, "You're no longer neutral." And I said, "That's not true at all." And he says, "How's that?" I said, "Have I ever once, when you sent me a gig or did this or did that, have I ever once poached your gig?" He says, "No." I said, "This is an opportunity that nobody's ever had, and that's called to bridge the gap." He goes, what are you talking about? This gap will never be bridged. I said, it will be on so many levels, though, because I'll be the guy who'll have the client doing the racks and stacks in the opener, and you'll be the headliner, and you'll have 600 boxes down at, Stagecoach.
Yeah.
And you need a guy like me. And I need a guy like you when I've got a guy like yours who's doing a fly date for some big, huge corporate, and there's no way I'm getting that fucking rack full of Rupert Hine, processors.
That's right.
And you're going to ship them out to me, and then you're going to send your guy to me, and he's going to prep it here, and it's going to go on my truck to the load in, and then your front of house guy shows up to what he's used to every single time, and we're win-win.
That's right. Everybody can win.
And that's the philosophy I believe. If it's sitting on our shelf,
That's right.
then I just want to make a couple of nickels. And the guy who's actually got the client,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have to order it from San Diego or Las Vegas or Los Angeles. He doesn't have to pay for a week's rental. You can drive over here, get a quality piece of equipment, rent it for a day rate
Yeah.
at a business-to-business rate.
That's right.
He gets the business, and I make money too.
Yeah, it's a win-win. It's always been a stand-up way of dealing with it, and I think we're well known for, being out there. We're big on the whole. Everybody's needs get met, and we also understand it's a big, big world, and sometimes we'll want that.
The Bay Area just appears to be a small town, but it's not. There is a ton of financial possibilities here.
Let's just say.
So, with that being said, in order to keep the playing field level, everybody should just share what they have and maintain their relationships. Yeah. That way you're not coming over and, pissing on my Cheerios, and I'm not going over and pissing in your Cheerios. I'll maintain my relationships, you maintain your relationships, and we all give our customers equal great service and great pricing.
And what they want, what they need.
Period.
Yeah, simple as that. No, it's something to live by, and we rarely say no. I would say maybe with the exception of Burning Man, nothing's going to Burning Man.
Saw that happen once with the company I was involved in, and
Fly a dust is not anybody's friend.
None.
Well, and it changes the employee
Awful.
too when they're out there experiencing the spectacle.
Yeah.
They don't behave like they would if they were on a gig at the Warfield.
Yeah, it can be a problem. I didn't want to get stuck there. I just had to.
Yeah.
I just realized when I was saying that we never say no. Well, we actually do say no to one thing,
Yeah.
and we will always say no.
Yeah.
Been burned by the Burning Man too many times. Let's see. We're gonna the kind of standard closing question. I could talk to you all night. As you know, you're my brother, and there's so many lanes we could go down. But you're an old man. You've been doing this for a minute. And we're in this weird time. We've been in weird times, earthquakes and terrorist attacks and other shit, but this is some special top-down global shit. What do you think the future holds?
Well, I want to say that November 3rd will give us a better look into the looking glass. I want to say that. But that might be a pie in the sky thinking. But if you looked at it like a newborn getting exposed to germs or whatever, I would like I said, maybe that's even pie in the sky. I would like to hope somehow people are acclimating because they can't get a damn fucking vaccine fast enough that maybe this thing that's floating out there in the air, some of us are getting acclimated to, have already had it or whatever, and the flatten the curve term may actually come to reality, because it doesn't seem to me like anybody of real authority is making decisions that will actually eradicate it.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a word. It's like things can disappear of their own accord after some natural evolution that happened with the Spanish flu, which of course was not from Spain. We just like to label things nasty ways.
Right.
Can't say if the political outcomes would change much, because I'm going to jump in and out of this real quick, because actually.
So I would like to think that on March there's going to be them 60, 90 100 tours again. There's going to be, 12, 15, 16 trucks out there. The shop just going completely balls to the wall.
Yeah, haywire.
I'd like to believe that, but again, my crystal ball is about as clear as that one over there, full of bubbles.
Yeah. Sadly,
can't see through those bubbles real well.
well, your order was to make sure when it happens that we're ready, and I can, report to you as the guy that's responsible for that. We're ready, boss.
I know we are, and I believe that the people that are holding on and not letting their passion be affected, because that's one of my biggest concerns.
Yeah.
Is people that do what we do need that purpose, that sense of purpose, sense of the reward. The money is a necessary evil for all of us. That's just the way the planet's developed. But people like us get a giant reward from even if it's a $1 million wedding.
Yeah.
Or it's you're moonlighting at a nightclub, or you're doing 30,000 people and feeling the kick drum knock you out at front of house. That reward is the same reward no matter what, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when that reward is taken from you, it fucks with your spirit. And one of my goals here is to keep that spirit alive by, 1, doing your show, 2, doing these training classes,
That's
3,
right.
offering new opportunities here for a brain melt. Because again, we're in school right now.
That's right.
And
we've had little nibbles. We've got some stuff going out. We've got stuff out right this minute.
yes, we do.
It's small things, but things, and you keep putting the A players on this stuff. And I think that somebody told me today when they heard they were doing this thing that's upcoming here in the following week that we can't really talk a lot about.
Right.
Said that they called their mother to say, I got a job.
and I'm doing 10 days of work.
Yeah. Do 10 days of work,
Right.
And I thought that really struck a chord with me. And,
Yeah.
I think that's where one of the places where you get a lot of satisfaction from is being able to provide those opportunities.
Oh,
and,
I get 100% satisfaction about
Yeah,
that.
track them down, hunt them down,
Yeah.
build them up, make it happen, stick it in a truck, and go get it on. And so that's what we're about. I really appreciate you coming on the show, my brother. I adore you. We've been doing this forever together. You're a great fucking leader. You're a good friend, and I love you.
I love you too, man.
Thanks for coming out, huh?
Yeah,
Thanks for
coming
having
on,
me.
man.
Appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Come visit us at Beyond the Backstage Pass on Facebook. We have our broadcasting and advertising for when the shows come out. We'll let you know when this one comes. We appreciate your viewer coming in and viewing our show, and we'll see you again on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.